and of the government about this girl who was punished at school for being lesbian and then beaten and died from that beating. Committed suicide because of that beating and then the way people started treating her at school. No one sex was even mentioned in that interview. And so it is the pastors who come, no, Sodom and Gomorrah, the man who, and then it became the deal. And sometimes we have fought back, but that was not the agenda even of the LGBT human rights movement. Sex, and we have even tried to, in fact, the pastors are so obsessed with sex that one of the pastors in fighting to get this bill passed actually downloaded, took his time, searched for websites on the internet, got pornography, and took it to the church and showed the public, including children. Homosexuals have never gotten any, stuff like that and showed to the world. We are like, no, that's our private life. As Ugandans, we know that. We don't talk sex. Even if we are homosexuals, we do not talk sex in public. And even when they have provoked us during interviews, we are always like, that is my private life. Do you want, maybe you answer the question first. How do you have sex now? You're a girl, how do you have sex with a girl? And you say, okay, I'll answer that, no problem. But first tell me how you have sex with your wife. And then it ends there. So it is all lies. This whole propaganda has been lies from the word go, from who has started the sex talk to who is recruiting who and what. It has been lies, and the liars have been louder and more tactical than us.
I think there's also, it's worth thinking about in a kind of a theological Martin Sempa is the pastor you're talking about, and it's been very influential, and he testified before the US Congress, and he's gotten at least $90,000 in US funds, and quite a bit more, most likely. That's government money as well as churches and so on. You go to his church, I mean, not only is he showing pornography, but he has a Saturday night service, and he gets 1,000 kids, and they're jumping, he says, sex! He says, it's going to be great, you're going to love it, but you have to wait. It's just sort of this weird push-pull abstinence thing. And then everyone starts doing this jumping up and down because they're 19, and this guy is talking endlessly about the great sex they're going to have. And that is really coming theologically from mega churches that you see a little glimpse of in this movie. And it's a really deliberate, I mean, this is not a thing that I'm accusing. There's an idea that started developing in the 80s that changes in sexual values, that is the symbol for secularism. So when they talk about sex, they're not just talking about sex, they're talking about the idea of a government that is not led by God, of a country that's not led by God. And so you have these churches really developing this rhetoric and saying, this is great, because on the one hand, we get to condemn sex and everything that we say it stands for. On the other hand, we talk about nothing but sex. And so people love coming to our mega churches and hearing that rhetoric. And so when you start encountering it in Martin Sempa, using American praise songs, using sermons that are, just Rick Warren's sermons are preached all the time, it becomes this kind of displacement, and it makes me very suspicious of that rhetoric that you sometimes hear, the Andrew that you mentioned, that somehow queer people are introducing this into Ugandan society. This was a serious church import.
Yeah, but I think that's also, there's something to say about like the anti-gay camp, that they're willing to use any tool that is available, that the gay rights movement is limited in that sense, because they're trying to run like a dignified movement. But the anti-gay camp is not trying to run a dignified movement. They're trying to use whatever can come. Because if you look at the internet access in Uganda is at 41%, and that's like in urban centers. So if you have a pastor who is downloading gay porn and spreading it in church, and the people who are coming to church do not have access to internet, so this is like the access that they have. But there's nobody who is doing that, for the gay rights movement. Mm-hmm. So it's because I remember one of my friends at Makerere University came to me and said, how can you write this play? Have you seen this video of what gay people do? Like, I'm going to get you the CD or the DVD and you'll see it. And I asked her and said, have you seen straight people's porn before you talk about gay people's porn. Because nobody, like they don't have access to straight porn, and so the pastor is showing them gay porn, and to them it's like, oh my God, this is horrible, like this is something we have to fight. So the anti-gay camp is fighting, like the end justifies the means. They will use whatever is available to
Yeah, and
to
the time that he didn't use porn to convince, that's a very good point you brought, to convince Ugandans. He has described gay prides, you know, like how gay people behave outside the bedroom. Like, maybe they don't work, you just see them with he calls them buttocks outside, and they're all naked on tracks, and Pastor Tema, this is what he is describing as a gay life in the West. No